and welcome to AWANI Global. I'm your host, Fahana Sheikh. Now, we are honored to have with us today an influential figure who has been at the forefront of European diplomacy for years. He's a seasoned statesman and a leading voice in international relations, and has played a crucial role in shaping Poland's foreign policy and its place on the global stage. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Poland, Radosław Sikorski. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Your Excellency. Right, we are thrilled to have you in the studio with us today and also in Malaysia. The first trip, I understand, of a Polish foreign minister to Malaysia since 2002. So that's 22 years, quite a long time. Now, I understand there have been several meetings and visits to countries in Southeast Asia recently, and now you're in Malaysia. So what's the main objective of your visit to Malaysia and also some of the countries in Southeast Asia recently?
Indeed, it's a tour. I was in Singapore yesterday. I'm going on to the Philippines. It's a mark of our interest and respect for your region, for our achievements. But also next year, Poland will be chairing the Council of the European Union. You'll be chairing ASEAN.
Yes.
There are things to discuss, not just bilaterally, but also between our organizations.
Right. I mean, obviously, we're both looking forward to next year. It'll be very big roles for both of our countries. Now, with Malaysia, are there any specific areas are you looking to improve and strengthen or even explore with, this visit?
We have a healthy exchange in the areas of agriculture, defense. We hope to broaden it to tech. The deputy ministers for agriculture and defense are accompanying me.
Right.
So I hope we have a productive relationship.
Right, definitely. So, talking about your visit to some of the other Southeast Asian countries as well, how important is this region, Southeast Asia, to Poland's strategic interests? And how does this visit actually align with Poland's broader foreign policy in the region?
Well, we are physically distant,
Yes.
but we both live in turbulent environments. Poland was a victim of colonialism in the 19th century from Russia. You were a victim of colonialism, so we feel we have something in common.
Something in common that we hope to probably change in this day and age. Right. So going a bit further, how do you envision the future of Poland's diplomatic and economic relations within this region?
As I've mentioned, we feel that our agriculture is attractive for you. We import palm oil and other produce from you. There is opportunity for cross-investments. Polish ports are expanding. The European Union is promoting its program of global entry.
Right.
It's up to business to explore the particular commercial opportunities, but I think the political relationship gives them reassurance that the trade and the investment is welcome.
Right, and it's an opportune time to have you here as well to visit our Prime Minister, Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim.
Indeed.
Right. As you mentioned, Poland is heading towards a very crucial time. As of the 1st January 2025, Poland will assume the presidency of the Council of the European Union for the first half of the year. Now, what specific strategic goals does Poland have during this period?
Well, we hope to be hosting a senior meeting of Asia and EU countries where various agreements on free trade, on phytosanitary agreements, that all the agenda of the entire European Union can be pushed forward.
Right. I understand, obviously the EU wants to be, and it already is recognized as a global player. In what way does Poland actually plan to contribute to the EU's ambition of becoming a more recognized global player? And how will Poland prioritize its foreign policy objectives to enhance this EU's role on the global stage?
Actually, as regards trade, it is conducted exclusively by the European Commission. Mm-hmm. So we no longer have individual policies of member states. But the presidency helps the Commission.
Right.
There are issues to do with education. We encourage citizens, students from this part of the world to come and study at our universities.
Yes.
There's a plethora of issues.
Right. And, we obviously hope with the presidency next year, almost in tandem with Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship, we will have a greater collaboration and greater cooperation between the two regions. Now, over on this side, like I said, almost in tandem, Malaysia will be chairing ASEAN for the whole of 2025. Do you see any particular opportunities for countries as leaders in our regional blocs to bring the EU and ASEAN together?
Well, we have to look where there are some synergies. You have things that you make that the Polish and European public desires, and vice versa. That's why trade is mutually beneficial. That you can't be excellent and produce everything, particularly medium-sized countries such as Malaysia and Poland.
Right. I understand with regards to our geographical location, we're quite far. But at the same time, are there any specific areas of cooperation, or what role could Poland and Malaysia focus on to strengthen ties between the EU and ASEAN?
Well, we could start with tourism. I would encourage Polish tourists are very entrepreneurial and quite brave. And I don't think they've quite discovered Malaysia yet.
Right.
And I hope it works vice versa.
There's a lot to discover here, actually, especially when it comes to our food and our culture. I understand, Polish culture and Polish food is also being exposed here to Malaysians, and I think we all love it too. So, right. The world has definitely changed a lot. There's a lot happening under a shift in geopolitical landscape. We see formation of new alliance, new groupings, or whatever you name it, in the face of tensions as well as conflict. Looking through the ASEAN lens, do you think it's normal to be neutral in this landscape?
Well, we have some members of the European Union who are neutral, Ireland and Austria. We have others like Sweden and Finland who have recently decided to cease to be neutral. Sweden was neutral for almost 300 years and has now decided to join NATO. It all depends on what happens in your neighborhood.
Right.
And our neighborhood has ceased to be peaceful. Poland is the only country of the EU that has both Russia and Ukraine as neighbors, and those neighbors of ours are
fighting
at war, and over 1 million people have already died or been injured.
Right.
So that's a big challenge for us.
Is that part of the main reason why defense spending is going to be 5% next year? Yes.
The NATO recommended level in the past was 2%. Poland has been spending 2% for 2 decades. We are actually now the highest spender in proportion to GDP in the entire NATO, including Britain and the United States. And I've already given you a reason. One big country in our neighborhood decided to invade a sovereign nation state on the grounds that because it was its former colony, they want to recover its colony, and that shouldn't be allowed. But when neighbors threaten you, you have the option either to capitulate or to defend yourself.
Right, and you're choosing obviously the latter. Right, obviously drawing on that, Poland shares a border with a European country that you say that has been in conflict with the country for over 2.5 years now. Given your country's significant support for Ukraine, what do you see as the key reasons for assisting Ukraine in its fight?
Well, when Russia invaded Ukraine, there was a vote in the General Assembly of the United Nations, and by one of the most overwhelming majorities in the history of the UN, the General Assembly condemned a member of the Security Council in invading another founding member of the UN. And a vote in the UN is not just a press statement.
Right.
its legal basis and actually legal obligation to take countermeasures, to reverse the consequences of an act of aggression. So we feel that Ukraine, as a victim, has the right to receive our assistance.
How do you see this going forward with regards to the assistance that's been given, the alliance that's been formed? How do you see this going forward, over 2.5 years now?
Well, I hope countries will call on both countries to withdraw their forces to the internationally recognized border. Right. All borders in Asia, in Europe, in Africa, in Latin America are products of history, of compromises, of happenstance. And if we start changing them by force, it's a recipe for war of everyone against everyone else. We've agreed after 2 bloody world wars to respect the borders as they are and to respect minorities.
Right.
And invading your neighbors is not something we should tolerate.
And this is applicable to sort of the whole of the world, in a sense that...
It's the basis of the UN Charter. Respect for sovereignty, respect for borders.
Yeah, especially in today's time where we see geopolitical tensions or conflicts propping up almost, every couple of years now. It's definitely a time to look back at some of the universal values that we have acquired to, that we've agreed to, right?
And members of the Security Council are supposed to be guardians of the peace rather than aggressors.
Do you have any comment on how the UN is conducting the way forward with regards to, the whole Ukraine and Russia conflict?
Well, I wish the UN were more effective and also that the Security Council were more representative of the global correlation of forces. The most populous country in the world, India, is not represented on the Security Council on a permanent basis. So our institutions need reforming and updating, but it's better to operate by these imperfect rules rather than having countries just completely disregard them and use the power of the fist.
Right. Do you think this is reflective towards, say, the treatment of, let's say, Israel and Palestine conflict, for example?
Well, as I've mentioned to you, Poland is itself a former victim of colonialism. And that's why we recognize the right to independent existence of both Palestine and Israel. Palestine is fully recognized by Poland with an ambassador fully accredited with the head of state. But so we recognize also Israel's right to live in secure borders.
Right, okay. Another interesting development in the West is also the United States presidential elections, which are scheduled to be held very soon in November. Do you have any predictions for that?
Well, you might be so brave as to make them, but Poland wants to have the best possible relations with whoever wins in Washington in November.
Right. No predictions there.
It's very difficult to make them because, of course, the American system is different from ours, let alone yours. The popular vote, as you know, doesn't decide the issue. It's the electoral votes in the swing states, and that's very tricky to predict.
Right. You're basically ironing it out, how the electoral system is working. But yeah. So what is the Polish, the EU's, and the European perspective when it comes to the inevitable change in American leadership right now? And what can it mean for the world?
Well, what we want to see from Washington is commitment to NATO, to the security of Europe, and to the institutions that we've benefited from. You know, Poland has developed rather well in the last 30 years. We've taken advantage of our freedom to order our own affairs, to have our own political and economic system, and we want that to persist. And for us, U.S. role in securing the North Atlantic area is crucial.
Right. Drawing back on how, the neutrality of the whole thing and how ASEAN's looking at it with regards to tensions between US and China, where does actually Poland fit into, or the EU as a whole fit into that whole dynamic?
Well, China is our biggest trading partner. The United States is our most important ally. We are working to moderate the rivalry between them, and we hope that it will never boil over.
Right.
That they will find ways to resolve their differences.
Right, definitely. Is the same being applied with regards to Russia and Ukraine, or is it a totally different ballgame altogether?
Well, Russia should just end this war in which over 1 million people have already been killed or injured. There's absolutely no justification for hitting civilian targets, for kidnapping children, for subjugating a country that voluntarily gave up its nuclear weapons.
Right.
The first guarantor of Ukrainian independence was the Russian Federation. Vladimir Putin's signature is on the treaty between Russia and Ukraine recognizing their border.
Right.
And you can't just tear it up and decide that the other country doesn't have the right to exist.
Right.
That would be a recipe for
disaster,
for a very messy world.
Yes, definitely. And do you think the path to diplomacy, especially with regards to engaging with Russia, for example, we have talks where, for example, Russia is not included, for example. Do you think the path to diplomacy is clear, or does it require more construction? Or?
I think there is no shortage of potential mediators between Russia and Ukraine. There is Turkey, there is India, there is China, but I'm not sure President Putin has yet given up on his war aims, which is to conquer Ukrainian territory and to make Ukraine a vassal state again.
Right.
These colonial wars usually take a few years before their initiators come to the conclusion that they can't achieve their objectives. I think you in Malaya know something about that.
Based on our past history, yes. But obviously we do hope that a path to diplomacy or a path to dialogue is there. And we hope that the conflict on both sides would end amicably. So there's that on Malaysia. Right. Let's circle a little bit back on why we are here, which is, we are here in Malaysia. And I would like to ask, in what ways do you think Poland and Malaysia can collaborate to address shared global challenges? We mentioned some just now, we've discussed a few. But we have more. We have climate change, we have public health, we have sustainable development. There's a plethora of issues that we're looking at here. Even geopolitical challenges that can impact both regions. So how do you see Poland and Malaysia addressing some of these shared global challenges?
Well, look, I was born in communist Poland when respect for the environment was not a high priority.
Right.
As a result, when communism collapsed, we had to spend a lot of money on new ways of cleaning up our air, and particularly water. As a result, we think we have efficient, affordable systems of water treatment. Perhaps that would be useful. Our banking system was completely anachronistic when communism collapsed. We are now regarded as the fourth most modern banking system in the world, with very innovative IT solutions in the financial area. Same as regards green hydrogen, and we've had an explosion in electricity generation from the sun, from photovoltaic farms. Perhaps these are areas where we could help each other.
Mutually cooperate, yeah. I mean, that's definitely something that we're looking at as well. You know, measures or implementations that can benefit both countries.
Indeed.
Right, definitely. We are very looking forward to your meeting with Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim and the announcement that we'll make. Is there anything that you can tease us on?
I wouldn't presume. Out of respect for the Prime Minister, right. I think let's wait until the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, we're very excited here in the newsroom. You know, we are thrilled to have you know, you here, Your Excellency here, as well as the whole Polish entourage here with us. We hope that we can collaborate more in the future, and we hope there are ways for us to have more dialogue, more measures, more sharing of expertise and knowledge. And we welcome you to Malaysia after 22 years of a Polish foreign minister. So we welcome you to Malaysia, and we hope you have a very good visit.
Thank you very much.
I am Fanashe. Thank you for watching AWANI Global.